Let me give you a little Sheila Jackson Lee. I mean, might as well start out with some of the really heavy anti-gun nonsense that was on the floor of the House today. Take a listen to the representative from the Lone Star State of Texas.
Mr. Chairman, I am hoping that there will be no member that will oppose a common sense amendment that allows our law enforcement officers to be more protected. One might think, as I point to this picture of a nurse giving a young man an immunization shot and the young man squinting, that I would be more in tune with this legislation to have a law enforcement officer or a policeman dressed in their uniform.
What?
I put a child here
okay,
because I want...
Can we just pause this for a second? I have no idea where she's going with this. The picture is of a little, I don't know, 6, 7-year-old boy getting a shot, and he's, squinting in pain. We're talking about concealed carry. I'm guessing that this is going to be one of the more roundabout, it's for the children arguments that we've heard lately. All right, Representative, back to you.
I wanted to emphasize the fact that can we have any disagreement that if we put our law enforcement officers in jeopardy, many of them leave behind families. Or I might use as an example, this young child is squinting in pain for immunization. That won't harm them. But a person recklessly having stolen maybe someone's gun that comes with the national concealed law, the right to carry law, may not have a squinting child, but rather a dead child.
Wait, stop. Okay. Okay. So, yes, that was indeed the most roundabout, it's for the children argument that I have heard lately. I mean, when I say roundabout, that didn't even really make any sense. I mean, you could have had a picture of anything up there. You could have had a picture. I don't know. Give me some object at random, Cameron. Just name an object, any object.
TV's Blossom.
Okay, so you could have had a picture of Mayim Bialik up there, and Sheila Jackson Lee could have said something like, Blossom grew up to be, I don't know what she grew up to be, actually. She was hanging out with Kirstie Alley for a while. But if Blossom lived in a state when this National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act went into effect, she could have been killed by somebody who stole a gun from a concealed carry holder from another state, and then she would never have been allowed to blossom. See what I did just there? I mean, really, what? It would have just been a lot easier to say, I don't like this bill. I think that it's going to lead to more violent crime. The problem is, that's easily rebutted because right-to-carry laws, shall issue right-to-carry laws, have not led to more violent crime in any of the states where they've been passed. Is she still going, by the way? She still have more? Oh yeah? Oh. Well, all right. Let's dive back in, shall we?
Let me give you an example of the legislation or the amendment that I have in real time. A North Harris police officer in 2008 had a traffic stop. Before he went to this individual that he was stopping, he dutifully went to the dispatcher, a database, to find out who this might be. Tragically, it was not soon enough because a gun was taken and he was shot dead. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children, albeit the fact that I have a child here.
Wait.
Because I'm simply...
Stop. Now we're not even making any... we weren't making much sense to begin with, but gun was taken. Would that have been a stolen firearm? Does that mean that the gun was taken from the officer? Are you really suggesting that there is some sort of database out there that exists that tells law enforcement officers, okay, there's a criminal with a gun in that car in front of you? Look, I've got news for Sheila Jackson Lee, who apparently has never talked to a rank-and-file police officer in her life. Every officer on every traffic stop, regardless of what information the dispatcher gives them, approaches that vehicle with the factor of the unknown in their mind. They don't know what situation they are walking into. It doesn't matter if they know your name, if they know where you live, or the name of the person to whom the car is registered, or where they live, right? Doesn't matter the information that they have. They know that they don't know everything. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Miss Jackson Lee, let's continue on for just a minute or two more.
Trying to create a simple amendment to this bill that would protect our law enforcement. What does my amendment do? It ensures that a comprehensive database is created to provide a listing of individuals from each state who possess permits and licenses to carry concealed weapons. This amendment would also require that the concealed weapons database be available to law enforcement officers in all states 24 hours a day. Thank goodness, because of federal funding, many of our law enforcement officers have their laptops, maybe some of them even their iPads. And so this database is a simple process.
All right, can we stop for just a second here? We need a database of a subsection of the population that is far more law-abiding statistically than the general population. Why? Exactly. Now, again, keep in mind, National Right to Carry Reciprocity Act passes. You're driving another state. You've got your concealed carry license. You're now carrying legally. You get pulled over for speeding. You've got to obey the laws of the state that you're in, which means you got to obey the notification laws. You've got to tell law enforcement, just like every other local concealed carry holder, that you are indeed a concealed carry permittee. This is the type of straw man argument. Actually, we heard worse today, I do have to tell you, and you'll hear it as well later. I want to get back to Sheila Jackson Lee and the debate over H.R. 822, the National Right to Carry Reciprocity Act. This is an exchange between Sheila Jackson Lee and Representative Gowdy from South Carolina. I'm going to try to keep my mouth shut as much as possible this time around so you can actually get some of the flavor of the debate.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your courtesies, and I am delighted to have seen my good friend engage in a dialogue and colloquy with my friend from Tennessee, and maybe I might even get the same courtesies because this is a very important issue that also deals with constitutional questions, and I'm back with my young man and getting his immunization shot with a nurse looking over him, because I want people to know that this is about family. It's about the fact as to whether or not we make a statement on behalf of protecting law enforcement, protecting our families, and not fall upon the spear of the Second Amendment and the National Rifle Association. To my ranking member and dear friend, even the super committee is not without ghosts riding through. I understand they had a deal, and then Mr. Norquist comes riding through. Whenever we want to talk about getting together on the NRA, getting together on guns and the Second Amendment, the NRA comes riding through. So we've got the NRA, we've got Mr. Norquist, and we can't ever get any bipartisanship because the ghosts keep riding through. But my amendment is a very simple one, and it speaks to, again, protecting the lives of our officers. And what it says is to the state, having the state have a designated entity, a designated agency that requires an individual coming into another state with a concealed carry permit must provide at least 24 hours advance notice to law enforcement agencies of their intention to carry or possess a concealed handgun in another state. States must retain their ability to know which individuals are allowed under this newly proposed bill to possess and carry a concealed weapon. Now, my friend engaged with me a dialogue, a gentleman, I believe, from South Carolina engaged with me, or did not engage in a discussion. But just imagine a trooper with a traffic stop on, say, for example, I-45, that's in the state of Texas. It could be I-95 in Maryland. At 3 a.m., the car has a Colorado license plate. The driver supplies a Colorado driver's license. The state trooper goes back to his car. He can instantly validate this person is from Colorado with respect to their license plate and their license. Upon returning to the car, the trooper notices that the driver has a concealed weapon on his hip. The driver hands over his Colorado concealed carry permit. The trooper has no ability to determine the validity of that permit. Therefore, if that person had been required to notify a state agency in Texas or in Maryland, that might be readily accessible. I heard a comment about the inlet process. You can go to the inlet. Only 12 states have allowed electronic access to their concealed carry database known as inlet. It does not respond, in essence, to the other 38 states. My friends, we are recklessly passing a bill that we think is sorely needed. It does not in any way have anything to do with jobs. It doesn't have anything to protect innocent children. It has nothing to do with making sure our law enforcement are safe. But I'm simply adding an amendment that would make it better. Let's know when you're coming into our state. Let's let our law enforcement know. Let's provide safety to the American people. I reserve my balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of her time. For what purpose the gentleman from South Carolina rises?
Mr. Chairman, I rise in opposition to the amendment.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is based on the premise that any person
Representative
who
Gowdy
possesses
from
a
South
gun,
Carolina,
including an American who legally purchases a gun and obtains a concealed carry permit, is a criminal and must seek permission to exercise his or her constitutional rights. It would be nice, indeed, Mr. Chairman, if we could get those who harbor criminal intentions to call ahead of time and inform local law enforcement of their plans. It would, in fact, Mr. Chairman, be ideal if they would let us know which store they were going to rob, which home they were going to invade, which car they intended to steal. That typically doesn't happen, Mr. Chairman. To require law-abiding citizens to have to call ahead is mind-boggling. Do we have to call ahead when we plan to assert our First Amendment rights? Do we have to call ahead and inform states we're traveling through of our intention to rely upon our Fourth Amendment rights? What about Miranda? Do we call ahead and reserve our Miranda reservations? Do we need to tell them which road we'll be traveling on, Mr. Chairman? And who do they call and what do they tell them when they call? Do they describe the gun? Do they tell them what caliber? And what is law enforcement supposed to do with this information? Does anyone really think criminals ever call ahead and announce their intentions? And what happens if a person fails to provide notice, Mr. Chairman? What is the designated law enforcement agency expected to do with this information? Maintain a database of all entering non-residents? Track the person's movement inside the state? Should a non-resident with a concealed carry permit engage in criminal activity in the state, is the state then liable for not preventing it? Would a person who lives in Maryland but works in Virginia be required to call every day, Mr. Chairman? And what if it's an emergency trip, the birth of a grandchild, a sickness in the family? Do we just postpone our trip so we can meet the requirements of this amendment? Or do we sacrifice our right to travel in self-defense because we didn't call quick enough? This is a practical nightmare. It's a constitutional abomination. I urge my colleagues to oppose it, and I yield to my friend in law enforcement, the gentlelady from Florida, Miss Adams.
And boom goes the dynamite. That was, wow. I like listening to Representative Gowdy. We got to get him back on the show sometime soon.